The legendary system in LOTRO is quite big, and there are so many traceries for each class. And with this amount of traceries, it can sometimes be hard to decide which ones are the best for your class. This is where this guide comes in handy. In this video, every class will be covered, and the best possible traceries for your class will be displayed. This video guide is purely information about the best traceries for each class. If you need a more detailed description of how the legendary item system works, you can take a look at my original LI guide on YouTube. Before going into the video, I thought I should just do a quick explanation of how the information is going to be displayed. I will go through each class, and the first thing we will look at is heraldic traceries, then words of power, words of mastery, and finally the words of craft. The traceries will also be displayed in order of importance, from top left to bottom right, so you will know which ones you should upgrade first if you get tokens to buy traceries. As always, the way I go about these guides is that I present my suggested traceries to my Discord server, and I then take the feedback from the Ghyniverse and apply that to my findings to get the best possible result. I would like to thank everyone who gave feedback on my suggestions, since it's impossible for one person to know everything about every single class and spec. With that out of the way, it's time to get into the video. A lot of work went into this video, so I hope you enjoy the end result. For yellow Beorning, you want to get the Heraldry of Healing or Recovery recipe and make 2 Heraldry of the Mending Bear for the outgoing healing modifier set bonus. If you can't get these recipes yet, then Heraldry of the Bear is your second best option. For your words of powers, I would recommend getting healing over time, area effect healing, single target healing, healing over time criticals, and for your 5th slot, you can either go a ranged healing extension, the range is sometimes nice for a healing Beorning, or you can go with area effect healing criticals. For your words of mastery, I recommend getting Beorning dot pulses and swarm debuff duration, giving you more uptime on the bee swarm debuff duration. Bond of trust heal chance increase is very important. Having more recuperate heal pulses is also really good. Healing strength to hearten, encouraging roar initial heal, and nature's mend is very good for you. Wrath refund chance is a nice quality of life. Nature's bond cooldown gives you nature's bound back faster. Shake free cooldown for a shorter cooldown on your bubble. The rush tracery for longer duration on rush. Bee swarm critical defense debuff makes your critical defense debuff a bit stronger. And the final word of mastery for yellow Beorning is kind of a pick for the secondary stat. You either go for Thunder's Roar cooldown, which gives vitality, or you go for Bee Swarm damage, which gives finesse. And for your words of craft on yellow Beorning, I recommend getting 2 of heroic precision for the 3% critical hit chance set bonus, and 2 of the grant willpower for the 1.5% tactical mitigation set bonus. For red Beorning, I recommend getting the Heraldry of the Stalwart Ox. Gives you nice mastery, nice vitality, but also 1.5% tactical mitigation bonus. You get this tracery by crafting the Heraldry of a Willpower recipe, and if you're not able to get the recipe yet, then Heraldry of the Ox is a good option. For your words of power, I recommend damage over time, single target attack damage, damage over time criticals, single target attack criticals, and AoE target count for some more damage on your red Beorning. For your word of mastery, I recommend getting Beorning dot pulses and Bee Swarm debuff duration. A lot of these traceries will increase your damage: bear form damage, vicious claw damage, trash damage, Bee Swarm damage, slash damage, relentless maul damage, slash damage, and bonus wrath chance. Man form damage all makes sense to increase your damage as a red Beorning. Some wrath refund chance is nice. Call to the Wild melee damage bonus can be nice as well. And finally, we have the Bee Swarm critical defense debuff, making it a little bit stronger. And for your word of craft, a must pick is heroic precision times 2 for the 3% critical hit chance set bonus. And for your last 2, you could go grant willpower, which is my favorite, for the 1.5% tactical mitigation. But if you want to go a little bit more glass cannon with some increased DPS to your bleeds, you can find the Gundabad Word of Craft Tactics recipe, craft the gold and the teal output of the Word of Craft Tactics for some tactical critical multiplier, giving your bleeds slightly more damage. For blue Beorning, I recommend getting 2 of the Heraldry of the Sturdy Ox for the 1.5% physical mitigation set bonus. To get these heraldries, you get the Heraldry of Armor recipe and craft these traceries. But if you're not able to get this recipe yet, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a really good replacement. For your words of power, the base morale multiplier and both incoming damage, physical and tactical, are really important, as well as incoming healing is a nice bonus. And for your last slot, I would recommend area effect target count. For your words of masteries, the most important by far is the thickened hide duration and tactical damage reduction. Thunder's Roar cooldown is really nice as well. The counter tracery to make counter a bit stronger. Hearten Heal and recuperate heal pulses help you with your self-healing. Take free cooldown, reduce cooldown on your breakout. Vigilant Roar incoming healing for some more incoming healing. Wrath refund chance is always nice. Rush evasion for evade on your rush and also some nice duration on it. Bear form damage, relentless maul damage for some nice extra damage for aggro. And finally turn the tides damage, pretty much mainly for the incoming healing secondary stat. And for your words of craft, I recommend getting the Grand Willpower ×2 for the 1.5% tactical mitigation set bonus. And for your last few slots, I recommend getting the Gundabad Word of Craft Anger recipe for the nice increased damage and healing threat from the gold and teal output. For blue Brawler, I recommend getting the Heraldry of Armor recipe and crafting 2 of the Heraldry of the Sturdy Ox for the 1.5% physical mitigation set bonus. If you're unable to get the recipe and these heraldries, then Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. For your words of power, I recommend the base morale multiplier, incoming damage, physical and tactical reduction, incoming heal bonus, and the area effect target count as your 5th. For your words of mastery, I recommend getting Metal Shield Defense to increase your Metal Shield Come At Me cooldown for your AoE taunt is really important, and also the Mayhem Bubble will be stronger. Ignore the Pain cooldown and also an extra dispel count is pretty nice to have as a brawler. And there's a bunch of reduced cooldown effects, Joy of Battle, Quick Feint, and your skill cooldowns. All of these are really nice. Battle-wise, Metal Chance is nice as well for your metal management. 1 for all cooldown to get your 1 for all cooldown back faster. Innate Strength for mitigations and avoidance, make those debuffs stronger. And the final one is reduced cooldown on shared skills, which also gives some nice vitality. And for your Word of Craft, I recommend getting Grand Willpower ×2 for the tactical mitigation set bonus. And your last 2 slots, I recommend the Gundabad Word of Craft Anger recipe, crafting the gold and teal Word of Craft Anger for the increase to threat generation. For red Brawler, I recommend getting the Heraldry of Willpower recipe and crafting 2 of the Stalwart Ox for the tactical mitigation set bonus. If you're not able to get this recipe, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. For your Word of Power, I recommend getting single target attack damage, single target attack criticals, AoE attack damage, AoE attack criticals, and also finally AoE target count to increase the counts of your AoE attacks. For your Word of Masteries, I recommend finishing attack damage and basic attack damage, since they will affect a lot of your skills. Fist of the Valor cooldown on damage is really important. Your hardest hitting skill should be prioritized to be buffed. Latent Light proc chance and damage increase. Quick Feint cooldown and Get Serious duration and damage buff are good to have. Shattering Fist, Backhand Clout, Children's Strike, all increased damage is nice for a red brawler. Joy of Battle cooldown and effects makes your Joy of Battle stronger. Battle-wise, Metal Chance for some nice extra metal. And finally, 1 for all cooldown to reduce the cooldown of your 1 for all cooldown. For your Words of Craft, Heroic Precision is a must pick for the 3% critical hit chance set bonus, and the other 2 should be Ascendant Light ×2 for the 15% light type damage for your Latent Light procs, increasing your damage as a red brawler. For Burglar, we're gonna make 1 weapon that can use by blue, red, and yellow to reduce the amount of legendary items that you need. So on your all lines weapon, you should have the Heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow for the 1.5% tactical mitigation. Simply get the Heraldry of Willpower recipe and craft your gold tracery. If you're not able to get this recipe, then the Heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. Word of power on our all lines burglar weapon should be single target attack damage and single target attack criticals, as this will be useful for every single line for the burglar. Words of mastery on our all line burglar weapon should be reveal weakness, incoming damage and range. And since we want these traceries to be useful for every line, we have the chain skills critical chance, backstab damage, chain skill critical multiplier, critical response skill damage, and subtle stab damage and critical multiplier. All these traceries are useful for every single line for the burglar. And on our weapons word of craft, we're going to put the heroic precision ×2 for the 3% critical hit chance. For our blue burglar bag, we're going to get the heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow. To complete our Stalwart Sparrow set bonus, 1.5% tactical mitigation, get the heraldry of willpower recipe and craft your tracery. If you can't get this recipe, then the heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. For our words of power for the blue bag, it all depends if you want to play AoE burglar or single target. If you're going with AoE damage for your burg, then area effect attack damage, area effect attack criticals, and area effect target counts is what you should pick. If you instead want to go single target, you would then add damage over time criticals, and base morale multiplier as your last. If you're planning on playing AoE burglar, you go for the left build. If you're planning on playing single target, you go for the right side build. For your blue bag, word of masteries, you want to go with all-in melee damage to increase the all-in strength. Surprise strike, both of the surprise strike traceries should be on your bag, and since you're playing blue, harmful gamble damage and lucky and gambler strike damage should be on your bag. And for your last one, you will either go for cunning attack bleed damage, purge corruption damage, or addle tactical damage debuff. And for your blue bag words of craft, I recommend the grand armor ×2 for the 1.5% physical mitigation bonus. For your red burglar bag, you want to get the heraldry of willpower recipe, craft the heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow to complete your set for the 1.5% attack mitigation. But if you can't get this recipe, then heraldry of the Sparrow is a good choice. For your red bag words of power, it all depends. Do you want to play AoE burg or are you going to play single target? If you're going for AoE burglar, then area effect attack damage, area effect attack criticals, area effect target counts should be your choice. But if you're planning on playing single target damage, then damage over time criticals, and base morale multiplier should be your choice. Your words of mastery as a red burglar is all about damage. You want to get both surprise strike traceries to increase your damage, cunning attack bleed damage, feint attack damage, coup de grace damage, and your final one should either be purge corruption damage for damage increase or addle tactical damage debuff for some group support. And for your red bag words of craft, I recommend getting 2 of the grand armor for the 1.5% physical mitigation buff. For your yellow bag, you should get the heraldry of a willpower recipe and craft the heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow to complete the set for the 1.5% tactical mitigations. If you're not able to get this recipe, then heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. For your yellow bag words of power, area effect target count should have a high priority, as it's really useful having more targets for your crowd control effects. And for your other two, you should get area effect attack damage and area effect attack criticals. For your yellow bag words of mastery, you should definitely get tricks duration to increase the duration of your tricks. Mischievous Glee initial healing is also really powerful as a yellow burglar. Addle tactical damage debuff is a must-have for Yellowburg for the support, and you can also increase your surprise strike damage by both of the surprise strike traceries. And your final one should either be snag skills damage for some more damage on your snag skill, or riddle range for some nice utility and being able to riddle targets further away. And for your words of craft as a yellow burglar on your bag, you should get 2 of the Grand Armor for the plus 1.5% physical mitigation buff. For Blue Captain, you should get the Heraldry of Healing or Recovery recipe, and craft yourself 2 of the Heraldry of the Mending Bear for the outgoing healing bonus. If you can't get this recipe to craft these traceries, then the Heraldry of the Bear is a good replacement. For your Words of Power, you should get single target healing, healing over time, AoE healing, single target healing criticals, and healing over time criticals as a Blue Captain. For your Words of Masteries, obviously you want to increase your healing as a Blue Captain. You want to get Battle Hardened outgoing healing buff to increase the outgoing healing on your Battle Hardened. Melee skills healing, vocal skills healing, Valiant Strike healing, Rallying Cry healing, Words of Courage healing all increase your healing. Since you have Shield of the Dunedain in blue line, you should get the Shield of the Dunedain duration. Pressing attack and devastating blow critical chance is nice to get those defeat responses. Muster Courage Fear Resist is always nice for support. Battle Hardened incoming damage for some more personal survivability. Shield of the Dunedain incoming healing for your Shield of the Dunedain cooldown. And for your last one, I would either go with Noble Mark buff and debuff potency, or in harm's way damage reduction, as sometimes you will go into yellow to get either in harm's way or play with Noble Mark. And for your Words of Craft, I would recommend 2 of the Heroic Precision with the 3% critical hit chance bonus, and 2 of the Grand Willpower for some more tactical mitigation. As a Red Captain, you should get the Heraldry of Willpower recipe and craft 2 of the Heraldry of the Stalwart Ox for some good stats and the extra tactical mitigation set bonus. If you can't get this recipe to craft these traceries, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. For your Words of Power, as a Red Captain you can finally deal damage again, so you should try to get damage over time, single target attack damage, area effect attack damage, damage over time criticals, and single target attack criticals. As a Red Captain, we aim to deal damage, so for our Words of Masteries, you want to get Bleed Pulses, Battle Ready damage buff to increase your DPS potential, Devastating Blow, Pressing Attack damage, and also critical chance is really nice for your DPS. And then you have a lot of damage increase on Grave Wound damage, Cutting Attack damage, Shadow's Lament damage, Inspire damage, Blade of Elendil damage. Time of Need buff duration is nice. And for your last 2 picks, you can kind of choose pure damage for Battle Shout damage and Sure Strike damage, or you can sub in Muster Courage Fear Resist or Battle Hardened incoming damage for some nice support and some self-defense. For your Words of Craft, you should get 2 of the Heroic Precision for the critical hit chance bonus, and 2 of the Ascendant Light for the light type damage bonus. As a Yellow Captain, you should get the Heraldry of Armor recipe and craft yourself 2 of the Heraldry of the Sturdy Ox for some nice vitality and the 1.5% physical mitigation set bonus. If you can't get these traceries, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. For your Yellow Captain Words of Power, you obviously as a tank want to get base morale multiplier, reduced incoming damage physical and tactical, incoming healing bonus, and for your last one, I would either go healing over time or area effect healing for some extra healing potential as a Yellow Captain. As a Yellow Captain, we can also put out some decent healing, so our Words of Masteries will also reflect this. Battle Hardened incoming damage to reduce the damage taken as a Yellow Captain, Noble Mark buff and debuff potency to increase the strength of your Noble Mark, In Harm's Way damage reduction to make In Harm's Way stronger, at the 4 healing to increase the strength of your at the 4 cooldown, Battle Hardened outgoing healing buff for some more healing potential. Then we have Vocal Skills healing, Melee Skills healing, Rallying Cry healing, Words of Courage healing for some more healing output, Last Stand heal to make your Last Stand heal stronger, Muster Courage Fear Resist is also important as a Yellow Captain. And finally, we have Make Haste duration, increasing the duration of Make Haste, and also some nice secondary vitality stats. For your Words of Craft as a Yellow Captain, you kind of have a choice to do here. One thing you definitely want is 2 of the Grand Willpower for the 1.5% tactical mitigation bonus, Keep in mind we have the Sturdy Ox on our heraldries, so we don't really need the Grand Armor because we already have the set bonus. So I would probably recommend just getting the Gundabad Word of Craft Anger recipe, get the teal, get the gold and the teal output for some more damage and healing threat. It's always nice as a tank. Or if you just want some more physical mitigations, just add 2 more Grand Armor or even 2 more Grand Willpower. It's definitely up to you, but my recommendation is 2 of the Grand Willpower and 2 of the Gundabad Word of Craft, 1 gold, 1 teal for your Words of Craft as a yellow captain. For yellow and red champion, we're gonna do a combined champion rune, and on this rune we're gonna go for 1 of the heraldry of the Stalwart Ox. You will need the Heraldry of Willpower recipe to craft this tracery. If you're unable to get this tracery, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. On our yellow and red champion rune Words of Power, we're going to add area effect attack damage, single target attack damage, and single target attack criticals. On our yellow and red combined champions rune for Words of Masteries, we're going to get Battle Frenzy cooldown, really important for champ. Ferocious Strikes cooldown and damage, Brutal Strikes damage, Blade Wall damage, Switch Strike damage and power cost all increase your damage by a lot. And the last one we're gonna get is Fight On critical chance buff. And for our yellow and red combined champion rune for the Words of Craft, we're gonna go for 2 of the Grand Armor for the 1.5% physical mitigation buff. For our yellow champ weapon, we're gonna get the Heraldry of Willpower recipe and craft the Heraldry of the Stalwart Ox for the tactical mitigation bonus. If you can't get this recipe to craft this tracery, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. And for your yellow champ weapon, Words of Power, you want to get area effect attack criticals and damage over time. For your yellow champ weapon, Words of Masteries, you want to get rend armor reduction and bleed damage, raging blade damage, fury of blades damage, Great Cleave duration, exchange of blows, melee damage, making this cooldown stronger. And for your final one, you can either go for Feral/Savage Strikes damage if you use this skill in your damage rotation, or you can get sprint duration for some more sprint uptime. And for your yellow champion's weapon, Words of Craft, you want to get 2 of the Heroic Precision for the 3% critical hit chance bonus. For your red champion weapon, you want to get a Heraldry of Willpower recipe to craft the Heraldry of the Stalwart Ox for the tactical mitigation bonus. But if you can't get this recipe to craft this item, then Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. And for your red champion weapon, Words of Power, you want to get damage over time and area effect attack criticals. And for your red champion weapon, Words of Mastery, you want to get rend armor reduction and bleed damage. This is important since this tracery will affect your Deep Strikes bleeds. Remorseless Strikes damage, Devastating Strike damage, Raging Blade damage, Wild Attack damage all increase your DPS. And Great Cleave duration increases the duration of your Great Cleave cooldown. And for your red champion weapon, Words of Craft, you want to get 2 Heroic Precision for the 3% critical hit chance bonus. For blue champion, you want to get Heraldry of the Armor recipe and craft yourself 2 of the Heraldry of the Sturdy Ox for the physical mitigation bonus that you get. If you can't get this recipe and get these traceries, then Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. And of course, as a blue champion, you're a tank, so the obvious Words of Power are Base Morale Multiplier, Reduced Incoming Damage Physical and Tactical, Incoming Heal bonus, and for the last one, I recommend getting Area Effect Target Count for some more targets as a champ. For your blue champ, Words of Masteries, Battle Frenzy cooldown, Bracing Attack heal to increase the heal of Bracing Attack, Fear Nothing cooldown plus some incoming healing on Fear Nothing, Sudden Defense cooldown, Adamant duration, Dire Need cooldown, all increases the strength of your cooldowns. Having Ire cooldown and tactical mitigation is nice. Sprint duration, sprint as a tank is good, but you also get evasion on your sprint. And then we have Riposte damage, Raging Blade damage, Blade Wall damage for some damage output and some aggro management. And the final one is Fight On critical chance buff, mainly for the secondary vitality stat. And for your blue champ, Words of Craft, I would recommend getting 2 of the Grant Willpower for the 1.5% tactical mitigation, and for the last 2, Gundabad Word of Craft Anger recipe to craft the gold, and the teal increased damage threat to help out with some threat management as a blue champ. As a red guardian, I recommend getting the Heraldry of Willpower recipe and crafting 2 of this Heraldry of the Stalwart Ox for the 1.5% tactical mitigation bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a really good replacement for this. For your Words of Power, I would recommend getting single target attack damage, damage over time, single target attack criticals, damage over time criticals, and area effect attack damage. For your Words of Mastery as a Guardian, most of these will simply increase your damage, parry response damage, brutal assault damage, sting damage and crit chance, overwhelm damage and crit chance to the king damage, stamp cooldown and damage, stagger critical chance and duration, sweeping cut damage and critical chance, whirling retaliation damage, Guardian's Ward damage, charge duration and speed, nice for some extra charge duration. And the final one is Catch a Breath cooldown and heal. Catch a Breath, still nice to use as a red guard, but the other 10 will simply increase your damage as a red guardian. And for the red guard's Words of Craft, you want to get 2 of the Heroic Precision for the 3% critical hit chance, and 2 Grand Armor for the increased 1.5% physical mitigation bonus. As a blue guardian, you want to get the Heraldry of Armor recipe and craft 2 of the Heraldry of the Sturdy Ox for the 1.5% physical mitigation bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then the Heraldry of the Ox is a good replacement. For your Words of Power, as a tank you want to get Base Morale Multiplier, reduced incoming damage physical and tactical, incoming healing bonus, and for your last one I recommend Area Effect Target Count for more targets as a blue guardian. For your blue guardian Words of Mastery, you want to get Force Taunt duration to increase the duration of your taunts. Catch a Breath cooldown and heal helps a lot as a blue guardian. Guardian's Pledge cooldown and magnitude increases your Guardian's Pledge cooldown strength. Adaptability, block and parry rating gives you more BPE. Same goes for Guardian's Ward duration and block chance. And Ward's damage and parry chance increases your BPE as well as the duration of your Guardian's Ward. Then you have 3 traceries to increase your warrior's heart strength. Stamp cooldown is always nice, getting your interrupt skill back faster. Charge duration is also nice as a tank, some increased duration on your run speed, and also some nice vitality secondary stat. And for your final one, I would either get Turn the Tables cooldown or Shield damage. Turn the Tables cooldown has some nice vitality attached to it, and shield damage has tactical mitigation, so the last one is up to the individual player to choose. And for your blue guardian, Words of Craft, Grant Willpower ×2 for the tactical mitigation bonus, and I would recommend getting the Gundabad Word of Craft Anger recipe, craft the gold and the teal output for some increased threat generation to help you with your aggro. For Hunter, we're gonna make a red and blue combined weapon, and on this weapon you want to get Heraldry of the Willpower recipe to craft a Heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow for the tactical mitigation bonus. If you can't get this recipe and this tracery, then the Heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. On our combined red and blue Hunter weapon, for Words of Power we're gonna get single target attack damage and single target attack criticals. On our red and blue Hunter combined weapon, for Words of Masteries, we're gonna get Precision Stance critical magnitude, Focus Bow critical multiplier, Induction Bow critical multiplier, Induction Bow damage, Heartseeker damage, and Burn Hot damage to increase our DPS as a Hunter. For our combined red and blue Hunter weapon, we're gonna get the Gundabad Word of Craft Focus recipe and get the Gundabad Word of Craft Focus, gold and teal for our Words of Craft, reducing the skill inductions on our attacks and increasing our DPS as a Hunter. For our red Hunter bow, we're gonna get the Heraldry of Willpower recipe to get the Heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow, Heraldry for the tactical mitigation bonus. If you can't get this tracery or this recipe, then the Heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. For our red Hunter bow, Words of Power, we're gonna get Area Effect Attack Damage area effect attack criticals, and damage over time. And for our red bow words of mastery, we're gonna go of course with upshot damage, precision, quickshot, critical chance and magnitude, swift bow damage, quickshot damage, rain of arrows damage, and for your last slot you either get press onward, cooldown and heal, which is my preferred one, but if you want some more DPS, then merciful shot cooldown and critical multiplier is also a good option. And for your red hunter bow words of craft, you want to get 2 heroic precision for the 3% critical hit chance bonus. For your blue hunter bow, you want to get heraldry of a willpower recipe to craft the heraldry of the stalwart sparrow for the 1.5% tactical mitigation bonus. But if you can't get this recipe or this tracery, then heraldry of the sparrow is a good replacement. On your blue hunter bow words of power, you want to get area effect attack damage, area effect attack criticals, and damage over time. For your blue hunter words of masteries, you want to get barrage damage, precision, quickshot, critical chance and magnitude, swift bow damage, quickshot damage, rain of arrows damage, and for the last slot, you either go press onward, cooldown and heal, or you get merciful shot cooldown and critical multiply for some more damage output. For your blue hunter bow words of craft, you want to get 2 of the heroic precision or the critical hit chance bonus. As a yellow or blue lore master, you want to go with a heraldry of a willpower recipe to craft the heraldry of the stalwart sparrow ×2 or the tactical mitigation bonus and high vitality. Or you can go for the heraldry of healing or recovery recipe, craft 2 of the heraldry of the mending owl for some nice outgoing healing and the 3% outgoing healing modifier. And of course, if you're not able to get these recipes, then heraldry of the sparrow and heraldry of the owl are good replacements. For yellow and blue loremaster words of power, the area effect target count is really nice to increase the targets affected by skills such as ancient craft. Skill induction speed is really nice to increase the inductions of your skills. Ranged attack extension can be really handy if you have to do stuff from afar. Ranged healing extension allows you to use your healing skills on targets further away. And for the last slot, I would recommend getting the base morale multiplier, but you could also do just fine with reducing the physical or tactical damage instead. For yellow and blue loremaster words of masteries, armor debuff potency increases your ancient craft strength, really important. Same goes for fire lore debuff magnitude, making fire lore stronger. Signs of power durations and debuff, making your signs of power stronger and lasting longer. Charged air reflect damage, more reflect on the charged air on your target. Beacon of hope healing, increasing the healing of your beacon of hope. Inner flame base healing, increasing inner flame healing. And the bottom 6 are basically mainly chasing the secondary stat. Pet attack duration is nice for your pets attacking faster. And the remaining 5 are basically for the secondary stat. Target resistance debuffing skill gives finesse. Pet morale gives more morale to your pets, which is fine, but also more vitality. Power restore is also okay, but also gives vitality. Target resistance damaging skills gives finesse. And staff skill damage gives even more finesse. For yellow and blue loremaster words of craft, you should get 2 of the grand armor for the 1.5% physical mitigation, and I will also recommend getting the Gundabat word of craft focus recipe, crafting the gold and the teal induction reduction for your loremaster. And as a side note, if you went for the owl for your heraldries, then I would recommend adding the grand willpower. But if you went for the sparrow, then I would just keep the ones on the left. As a red loremaster, I would recommend getting the heraldry of precision recipe and crafting 2 of the heraldry of the keen eagle for the 3% critical hit chance. And if you can't get these recipes, then heraldry of the eagle is a good replacement. For red loremaster words of power, I recommend damage over time, single target attack damage, damage over time criticals, single target attack criticals, and skill induction speed. For red loremaster words of masteries, I recommend getting lightning skills critical chance and multiplier, lightning storm damage, and go to war damage and cooldown, burning embers critical chance and multiplier, burning embers initial damage, ring of fire damage, sticky gourd direct damage, light of the rising dawn damage and critical multiplier, Cracked Earth damage, Nature's Fury skill damage, Armor debuff potency, Gust of Wind damage. These are the 12 traceries that will increase your DPS the most as a red lore master. And for your words of craft, I recommend 2 Ascendant Flame for the increased fire type damage bonus, and also getting the Gundabad word of craft focus recipe and crafting the gold and teal skill inductions reduction to increase your DPS as a red lore master. As a blue minstrel, I recommend getting the Heraldry of Healing or Recovery recipe and crafting 2 of the Heraldry of the Mending Owl for the 3% outgoing healing modifier bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then Heraldry of the Owl is a good replacement. For your blue minstrels, words of power, I recommend single target healing, area effect healing, single target healing criticals, and for your last 2 slots, it kind of becomes a choice. If you like having the skill induction speed on your skills, then this is really good. Healing over time criticals are good to increase your healing, and ranged healing extension can be good if you're playing sometimes far away from your targets. For example, the ephemeral fight, but depending on the fights, you probably won't really need ranged healing extension, but it is a nice quality of life to have. But for the last 2 slots, depending on your playstyle or your needs, you would then choose between these 4 traceries. For your words of mastery, I recommend getting healing skills induction time and critical chance, really good for a blue minstrel. Call to Irith cooldown and critical multiplier bonus, Cry of the Chorus cooldown, Triumphant Spirit cooldown and critical magnitude, increase healing to bolster courage, inspire fellows, Soliloquy of Spirit, raise the spirit, and also Hammerhand skills bubble magnitude, making your bubble stronger. Anthem duration is a really nice quality of life. Rally cooldown to get your rest back sooner. And for your last pick, you can either go for Anthem of Composure, the increased resistance and tactical mitigation buff on your Anthem, or some stronger major ballad healing. For your words of craft, I recommend 2 Heroic Precision for the 3% critical hit chance bonus, and also getting Gundabad Word of Craft Focus Recipe to craft the gold and teal skill induction reduction for your blue minstrel. For red minstrel, I recommend getting Heraldry of Precision Recipe and crafting the Heraldry of the Keen Eagle ×2 for the critical hit chance set bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then Heraldry of the Eagle is a good replacement. For your words of power, I recommend getting single target attack damage, area effect attack damage, single target attack criticals, area effect attack criticals, and area effect target count for more targets on your AoE skills. For your red minstrel words of mastery, I recommend getting Piercing Cry damage, Call to Fate critical multiplier, Call of Aromi and Erendil damage, Minor Ballad damage, Perfect Ballad damage, Call of the Second Age damage. These will all increase your DPS. Anthem of War and Prowess damage buff to increase the strength of your Anthem. Anthem duration is always nice. Hammerhand skills and bubble magnitude also nice in redline. Rally cooldown also good to have your rest back sooner. A rest is also useful even as a red minstrel. Anthem of Composure, resistance and tactical negation to increase your Anthem of Composure Anthem a little bit. Add Echoes of Battle resistance rating debuff, making the Echoes of Battle resistance rating debuff a little bit stronger. For your words of craft, I recommend getting 2 of the Ascendant Light to increase your light type damage. And also, you can get the Gundabad Word of Craft Tactics recipe, crafting the gold and teal tactics traceries for the tactical critical multiplier increase, so a minor increase in your DPS. Or instead of this, you can also go for Grand Willpower for the 1.5% tactical mitigation bonus. For blue Rune-Keeper, I recommend getting the Heraldry of Healing or Recovery recipe and crafting 2 of the Heraldry of the Mending Owl for the outgoing healing modifier bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then Heraldry of the Owl is a good replacement. For your words of power, I recommend healing over time criticals, single target healing criticals, and for your last slot you kinda get to choose. Ranged healing extension can be useful in a lot of scenarios if you have to heal people who are far away, or you could go for a base morale multiplier, increasing your morale, or reducing your damage taken, physical or tactical. For your words of mastery, I recommend Mending Verse Healing, Bombastic Inspiration Heal, Epic for the Ages Healing, Rift of Health Healing. These will all increase your healing. Word of Exaltation cooldown and Bubble Potency. Get your bubbles back sooner and they are stronger. Runestone, healing and damage, mainly for the healing from your Runestone. Scribe Spark damage and cooldown reduces the cooldown of your Prelude to Hope. Self-Motivation cooldown is really nice for your self-motivation heal. Do Not Fall this day cooldown reduces the cooldown of DNF, enabling you to have 2 DNF targets as a healer. Prelude to Hope Power Restore to increase your Power Restore from Prelude. Chill of Winter duration and critical vulnerability is for your Flurry of Words buff. And the last one is if you trait for fire debuffs in red, either Distracting Flame cooldown and damage, or target Wrath of Fire resist chance to allow you to put fire debuffs on the target. And for your Words of Craft, you should get 2 of the Heroic Precision for the 3% critical hit chance bonus, and you should get the Gundabad Word of Craft Focus Recipe and craft the gold and teal tracery to reduce your skill inductions as a blue RK. For yellow and red Rune-Keeper, we're gonna make a combined Runestone, and on this combined Runestone, we're gonna get the Heraldry of the Elements recipe and craft the Heraldry of the Tempestuous Eagle for the lightning type damage set bonus. If you can't get this recipe or this tracery, then Heraldry of the Eagle is a good replacement. On this red and yellow Rune-Keeper combined Runestone, we're going to add the Words of Power single target attack damage and single target attack criticals. On the combined Runestone for red and yellow Rune-Keeper, Words of Mastery, we're going to put Fury of Storm damage and critical multiplier, Epic Conclusion damage, Vivid Imagery damage, Chill of Winter duration and critical vulnerability, Self-Motivation cooldown and Power Restore, and Do Not Fall this day cooldown. On the combined Runestone for red and yellow Rune-Keeper, we're going to put Words of Craft Heroic Precision ×2 for the critical hit chance set bonus. On our red Rune-Keeper bag, we're going to get the Heraldry of the Elements recipe and craft Heraldry of the Tempestuous Eagle for the lightning type damage set bonus. If you can't get this recipe or this tracery, then Heraldry of the Eagle is a good replacement. For our red Rune-Keeper bag, Words of Power, we're going to get damage over time criticals, and area effect attack damage. For the red Rune-Keeper bag, Words of Mastery, we're going to get all the fire damage increase ones, Wrath of Flame damage over time, Searing Words damage, Essence of Flame damage, Combustion damage, Rate of Fire damage, and Distracting Flame cooldown and damage. And since red RK is fire damage, we're going to get 2 Ascendant Flame for our Words of Craft for the plus 15% fire type damage bonus. For our yellow Rune-Keeper bag, we're going to get a Heraldry of the Elements recipe and craft the Heraldry of the Tempestuous Eagle for the plus 15% lightning type damage. And if you can't get this recipe or this tracery, then Heraldry of the Eagle is a good replacement. For our yellow RK bag, Words of Power, we're going to get AoE damage, AoE attack criticals, and ranged attack extension to increase the range of our lightning attacks. And for the yellow RK bag, we're going to get Ceaseless Argument damage, Shocking Words damage, Sustaining Bolt damage, Scribe Spark damage and cooldown, Word of Exaltation cooldown and Bubble Potency, Target Fury of Storm resist chance for our Words of Mastery. For our yellow Rune-Keeper bag, Words of Craft, we're going to get the Gundabad Word of Craft Tactics recipe, craft the gold and teal tactical critical multiplier for the minor increase to our DPS. For Blue Warden, you want to get Heraldry of Armor recipe and Heraldry of Willpower recipe, craft a Heraldry of the Sturdy Sparrow and a Heraldry of the Stalwart Sparrow for the tactical mitigation and the physical mitigation that we're going to combine with our Word of Crafts later. If you can't get these recipes or these traceries, then both Heraldry of the Sparrows are good replacements. And for your Blue Warden Words of Power, the obvious one, base morale multiplier and reduced incoming damage physical and tactical. And for your last 2 slots, there's some debate. You have AoE target counts to increase the targets you hit as a warden, there's incoming healing bonus, and there's healing over time. Personally, I'm leaning towards AoE targets and healing over time. Some people think incoming healing is better, some people think healing over time is better. I'm leaning towards healing over time, but it's up to each Blue Warden to decide whichever two of these they think fit their playstyle the most. For Words of Mastery, you want to get the Mastery cooldown huge quality of life upgrade. Restorative Shield Work cooldown, getting this cooldown back quicker is really big. You have Never Surrender duration and incoming healing. There's quite a few healing increase and life tap increase. You have heal bonus for conviction, shield gambit line healing, gambit life tap damage and healing, resolution damage and healing. Shield gambit buff duration is also nice for your buffs, lasting longer. And then the last 4 traceries are mainly for utility and for the secondary stats. And for your Word of Craft, you want to grab 1 grand willpower and 1 grand armor to complete your mitigation set bonuses. And for the last 2, you want to get Gundabad, Word of Craft, Anger Recipe, craft the gold and the teal to increase your threat from damaging and healing, which can be really good on Blue Warden. For Red Warden, you want to get the Heraldry of Willpower Recipe and craft 2 of the Stalwart Sparrow for the tactical mitigation set bonus. If you can't get this recipe or these traceries, then Heraldry of the Sparrow is a good replacement. For your Words of Craft, I recommend getting damage over time criticals, single target attack damage, area effect attack damage, and for your last slot, you can kind of choose for yourself. Do you want some AoE attack criticals? Do you want single target attack criticals? Or do you want to increase your target counts on a Red Warden? So the last slot is up to the individual player to choose. For your Words of Mastery, you want to get Mastery cooldown, really important for Warden. Recklessness duration, a nice increase of your DPS cooldown. And there's a bunch of damaging one. Fist Spear Gambit damage over time, Fist Shield Gambit damage over time, Fist Gambit damage and critical chance, Spear Gambit damage, Spear Fist Gambit damage, Spear Shield Gambit damage, Gambit Builder damage. All of these increase your DPS. Marked and diminished target potency, obviously very important. Way of the Spear bonuses, increasing the Way of the Spear cooldown a little bit. And the final one you're going to pick is Gambit debuff duration, keeping your debuffs up a little bit longer. And for your Words of Craft as a Red Warden, it's pretty simple. You want to get the Heroic Precision, 2 of them for the critical hit chance bonus. And you want to get 2 Ascendant Light to increase your light type damage, with the 15% light type damage set bonus. Hey! Hey you! Yeah you! What do you want? You enjoy my content and you want to support me? Fine, I'll show you how you can do it. I would really appreciate if you like the video and subscribe to my channel. You can also support me through my Ko-fi homepage. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse is a Discord server created for the community of the players of Lord of the Rings Online. The server is getting close to 7,000 members, and in this server you'll find tons of helpful information. There's monthly giveaways, easy access to patch notes, you can keep up with my YouTube videos, my streams. If you're a streamer, you can ask for the streamer role and you can announce your streams in the other stream channel. There are discussion channels for pretty much everything, every class, monster players. But the best thing about this server is probably the Gearing Resources tab, where you can find anything from trait lines for every class, every build. There are stat goals, where you can find out what stats you should aim for on your characters. Really helpful information about drop rates from instances, as well as screenshot from all the new loot that appears in the game. If you enjoy LOTRO, you should definitely consider joining this server, and hopefully I'll see you in Middle-earth. If you were part of the Ghyniverse already, you might have noticed that another tab appeared at the top, the LFF server. This server is a brand new server that I created, the LFF Ghyniverse. In this server, you can select which servers you want to keep up with, and once you select your server, say you select Runestone, you will see the LFF, the kinship advertisement, looking for kinship and trade channels, and there's also voice channels if people want to use those. The LFF channel is basically a looking for fellowship channel where people can post if they need players for the runs, and this way people don't have to be logged into the game to see the chat. They can just instead that get a notification on their Discord. There's also a kinship advertisement page where kins can post their kinship advertisement and have people join their kins. And you can also post in the looking for kinship chat if you're looking for a kinship, but make sure to take a look in the kinship advertisement first and look through all the kin to find a suitable kin for you. There's also a trade channel if people want to buy or sell stuff that you can use. Hopefully you'll consider joining this server to bring the community even more together, not just in the game, but also outside of the game.